Hello everyone and welcome back to another one of my videos. Today I have two cards for you. One is a fun interactive window shaker card and the second one is a very simple pattern I made to create a beautiful background. I will be using a lot of heat embossing and ink blending for our cards today. Before we get started, I would really appreciate if you could take a minute to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you get notified each time I post a new video. Let's take a look at the stamp set that I will be using today. Here is the fancy frame stamp set, which is a two-part stamp set, both of which I will be using for our window card, and the smaller frame for the second card. This set comes with coordinating die sets which will come in handy to create our cards today. The first card that we will be making today is a shaker window card. To get started, I will be stamping and heat embossing both the frames onto a heavyweight white cardstock. Here I am using the Simon's Stamp Clear Embossing Powder. At first it will be difficult to see the design, but wait for all the colors. I plan on using a rainbow of colors for both our cards today. I am using my Pawsitively Saturated Inks by Simon's Stamp. And for the red shade, I didn't have any positively saturated ink, so here I will be using my distress ink. I began with rose pink, followed by barn door distress ink, sherbet, citrine, lucky, ocean and royal. I am using the Simon's Stamp Positively Everything tool to hold my stamp pads. This is a very handy tool when it comes to hold on to the ink pads while stamping or ink blending. It holds the pads in place while you can continue freely with the ink blending. Once you are done with the ink blending, you can use a dry paper towel to buff out any inks on the embossed pattern. I love how bold and vibrant these colors are. The frames come with coordinating die set. I tape the dies using temporary purple tape and run it through my die cutting machine. I love how these pieces turned out. There is so much you can do with this stamp set. Create maybe just a stamped background, like I'm doing here, create window cards, shaker cards, spinner cards and many more. It is definitely a very versatile stamp set. Now that our focal point is ready, which is the frames, let's work on our card. I'm using a black top folding A2 size card. I'm using a circle die to create my window on the front flap. The window should be slightly bigger than the circle on our frame. Off camera, I not only die cut the circle window, but I also made some metallic gold watercolor splatters on the front and inside panel of our card base. To create our window, for dimension, I went ahead and die cut the frames from 4 white color cardstocks. You can add some foam tape for all that dimension, but I feel stacking dies over each other gives a more cleaner look. I also die cut a clear plastic sheet for my window. Stack all of these die cuts over each other and then add your shaker elements. Here I am using the smallest sparkles for my window. Before I adhere the embossed and ink blended die cut frame, I added my sentiment strip and sandwiched the strip in between my window. Here I used the Perfectly Perfect stamp set by Altenew to stamp a bunch of sentiments. I placed the sentiment strip onto the window using some Simon's Stamp Craft Tacky glue. Once I was happy with the sentiment strip, I went ahead and adhered the ink blended die cut frame. Now that my window is ready, we can go ahead and adhere it onto the card front. But before that, I stuck the little frame through the window. This makes sure that my little frame is perfectly aligned to our window. Now using some glue, I adhered the shaker window onto the card front. At this point, I thought it would be perfect if I added a tiny little sentiment strip on the inside of our card too. Again, here I used the Perfectly Perfect stamp set by Altenew for this sentiment. I aligned the strip right below our main sentiment strip on the shaker window. To make sure that everything is properly stuck onto the card and is placed well, I placed my stamping tool on the card. You could place anything heavy or just keep your card under a pile of books. Until then, I went ahead and used the same gold metallic watercolors to create a beautiful splatter pattern on a black envelope to match my card. Here's a look at the finished card and the matching envelope. The stacked die cut does give some dimension to our card, but it can be easily sent out in mail. I don't think you will need any extra postage for this. I love how this card turned out. It matches perfectly with the black envelope, and the vibrant colors on our floral frame is absolute perfection. Let us now take a look at the second card. Here again, I am using the same fancy frame, stamp and die set by Altenew for this card. But for this one here, I will be using only the smaller frame. I am using the same set of rainbow color pattern that I used in the previous window card. The only difference here is that I won't be ink blending. Instead, I will be stamping the little frame using all of these colors. On a white sheet of cardstock, I stamped with each color one at a time and poured some Simon's Stamp clear embossing powder on each of the stamped images. Even though the Simon's Stamp Positively Saturated inks are dye inks, they don't dry out sooner, so it's easy to get it heat embossed. Once I was done with all of the colors, I went ahead and die cut the frames. Now all we have to do is assemble these onto a card front. Well, before doing that, I just thought it would be best to tone out these white gaps between our stamped images. I used the same colors and lightly ink blended on these die cut pieces. Using some foam tape and the Simon's Stamp Craft Tacky Glue, I assembled all of these pieces onto the card front. I used a small sentiment strip to add to my card front. I used the same Perfectly Perfect stamp set by Altenew for my sentiment strip. Next, to add some texture to our card, I decided to use some enamel dots by Altenew at the center of all of these frames. I used enamel dots in the shade Tea Party, Green Meadows and Glacier Caves, all of which are from Altenew. To finish our card, I added some clear Nuvo drops. These look translucent on application, but I gave it around 15 to 20 minutes to completely dry. Well, it dried out clear. It looked like tiny little water droplets on our card front. Here's a look at the finished card. I had so much fun creating these cards today. I hope you had fun watching it too and got inspired. All the supplies can be found linked in the description box below. I would love for you to become a subscriber to my channel, and if you do subscribe or are already a subscriber, please make sure to hit the bell icon so that you don't miss the next time I post. Hit the like button and let me know in the comment section down below if you have any ideas or suggestions. Also, if you'd like to share your creations, please tag me on my Instagram at rp_shutterbug. There's a link to that in the description box below. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe.